Hey. Hi, Javi. How's it going?
Hello.
Hi,
Hey
Fabian.
guys,
Hello.
hey,
Let's wait a
How it's
couple of more minutes, and if not, we'll get started and just run
yeah.
the. Awesome.
It looks like you are broadcasting from balcony.
From where?
This from balcony. The sound is a little bit far
Yeah,
away.
probably. Is the sound okay though to present?
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Awesome.
By the way, guys, have you tried to use Nix OS for development?
use what?
Nix,
Uh,
Nix.
yeah, I cannot say I have tried because I give up too early.
Mm,
No,
I
to be honest, I just didn't have the opportunity, and it's kind of resisting on my side. At some point, I guess that we need to explore it.
I mean, I don't
it's
really understand the utility of it.
mm, it's pretty cool to isolate your dev environment and um, have reproducible uh, steps for development everywhere, especially if you switch between different projects, different Java, Scala, Python, NPM, Kotlin libraries, etc.
Yeah, but I do
So
that with Docker. So,
with Docker,
yeah,
okay, I don't know this way, but do you develop something in Docker or how do you do this? I wonder.
I develop inside of Docker containers.
Oh my God. It's- And what IDE do you use? Vim?
Visual Studio, sorry,
VS Code
VS Code.
inside of Docker.
I mean, I can use inside of Docker, but usually I use it outside of Docker. But like running stuff, I do it everything in Docker.
Okay, got it. So Nix solved this issue by binding the particular uh, tool chain to downloaded how it's called binaries. So as soon as you run Nix develop, it configures your shell environment to all versions that are required for the project.
Mhm. But the thing is that when running, so that is like compiling and having the developing environment. But then running, Docker gives you that isolation that Nix doesn't.
Uh, Yes, for end-to-end integration test, Docker should be used. There is no doubt.
Yeah, for example, when you are doing interviews, you should not run that code on your computer. Like you should
Yes,
run
it's true,
on a
but
virtual
we are not
machine or
talking.
something
Yes.
because you don't trust the code that you are testing. Same thing with any other application. I tried not to have much stuff installed on the
Yes,
machine.
you're absolutely right, but I'm talking about our projects, which we trust, actually. And if you have different versions of NPM and Node for Midnight Did, for SDKTS, for some previous version of SDKTS, it's pretty convenient. Yes,
Mhm.
Javi, we can start. 5 minutes left, and John is here. Hi, John.
Yep. Awesome. Let's do it. So, as usual, we'll start with the two slides for the antitrust policy notice and code of conduct, which we recommend everyone to read and comply with. Then today we have a relatively simple agenda. We are going to start talking about the Identus V2 documentation, some changes that we made, and also some changes that we plan to make. We are also going to be talking about React Native and project refinement and kickoff. This is something that we are in a long term going to bring to Identus, but so far is just a project refinement and it's on a refinement state. Then we are also going to introduce the Kotlin multi-platform deprecation. It's not that we are stopping Kotlin itself, but we are stopping the multi-platform part because it's very difficult, not very difficult, yeah. It's difficult to maintain for the purpose that we built these SDKs for. And then last, we are going to give an update about the VDR status. And if there's any time or if there's any other comments that we want to make around AI and digital identity, we are going to run through those at the end of the call. Cool. Having that said, I think I am the first one presenting about the changes that we are making on the Identus website. Those are already on a PR and ready to review. I am still going to improve. So basically, this restructuring of the document generates a lot of lost links because a wrong architecture is being used. What do I mean by that? What I mean is that the different repositories are hard coding some links, and the point is that the links now change the root, so they are going to have problems around it. And I'm going to try and build a plugin that helps converting these links into a format that we have no problem to resolve. Then, as you see, one of the changes that we were suggested to implement, and Yuri kind of agreed with that, is that whenever you loaded the documentation website, you could not see the most useful content. You had to scroll down. And then we were showing a very nice logo with moving text, but this was not bringing any value. So right now, the screenshot that you see is what the users will see after landing in the web page is the 6 more useful links. And that's more or less the philosophy that we are going to follow on this initiative. Now, as I said, the links that each repository have done to /home no longer exist. And we are either going to need to create small PRs in each repository to fix those, or go through the route of first, we build a plugin on the documentation website to get rid of the errors. And in a feature, we stop using these links. I'm going to paste, well, here, I'm going to share with you a couple of examples that we have, because it's right now a lot easier to link the different scenarios. So whenever, for example, the SDKTS is referencing to another part of the documentation website, let's say it wants to link to a link inside the cloud agent, it can use the categories that will likely not change in a feature or in a closed feature. Then if not, I would suggest that we try using the last example that we have in here, so that we try to find the full root of where the document is. And these are the 2 or 3 scenarios that I found during the plugin development. Not really important, but I think it's worth sharing here. So then, how can we prevent and how can we make the Identus documentation easy to maintain and not have this problem on a regular basis? So right now, if you go and check the documentation repository, there is a mix of submodules and a documentation folder with some content that is defined in the documentation repository, and that those are the things that I think we need to get rid of. So my proposal to try and get rid of this unmaintainable structure would be that each repository can define documentation in 3 places: docs learn, docs developers, and docs references. So if you are working on something and you want to at some point deploy that thing into the documentation portal, what you should do in a feature is try and build a reference. So in case that you wanted to add a reference doc in the documentation portal, the only thing that you would need to do is create the docs references in your local repository. And then the markdown files should have what you see in the screenshot, sidebar position. This is what will help sticking in the right menu order. So we will no longer need to edit the documentation portal to make changes in the sidebar structure. We are going to be able to do it from the document itself. And then in a feature, what this means is that in order to make changes either to the top navigation, well, the top navigation is static, but the sidebars or how the elements are structured, you will be able to do it from your own repository, and the responsibility of the documentation website should be purely about rendering content and not a mix between rendering and fetching content from somewhere else. That's where we kind of have the problems right now. Yeah, before jumping into React Native, I'm going to show you what the current website looks like, and we can maybe make a first round of feedback or improvements or stuff like that. As we said in the main website, the things are straight after loading. The most important content is already present in the screen. And then we have these three new categories. In Learn, again, there is things in here that we may want to improve over time, like including the NeoPrism or including other components in here. Yuri, if you don't mind, let me just present the whole thing and then.
Yes. Go ahead. I will ask a question at the end.
Perfect. Then in developers, we have a section that groups everything that I consider was like development related stuff for the Cloud Agent. It also includes all the tutorials that the Cloud Agent has. And then in here, we also have the same for the SDKs. In case of Swift and Kotlin, we will need to figure out how to generate Markdown files in order to have a structure menu like this one. So in this case, the TypeScript SDK in developer resources has some tutorials that are like specific to the TypeScript SDK. And we also have an extra section for the migration guide. And then in here, of course, I am missing a lot of components like the mediator, like the NeoPrism node and other things that would be useful to have in here. The strategy that we should follow is to try and document those things in the mediator repository itself or in the NeoPrism repository itself, and just make the documentation the documentation portal fetch the values from there. So it makes it easy to maintain. And then the last section, which probably was the most complicated one, is the decision record. Well, it contains the most, like the reference to the most advanced specification. Then, as we can see in here, we have a section for decision records that have the Cloud Agent decision records and also the SDKTS and other resources that may have ADRs. All of them are grouped in the same page, and all of them can be found in the same place. Around specification, that's no mystery. It's just the same specification website, the page that we had in another section earlier. The Cloud Agent API is an evolution of the Open API generator plugin that we had in here, where it is slightly better because it gives us a lot, at least a little more alternatives of what clients you can use. It lets you copy the code and then have everything ready. And the design of this plugin is slightly more accurate and better than the previous. So it's bringing a big improvement. And there's also this introduction category that always appears as the first one, and it is like self-explanatory. And then the last part of the reference is that on the TypeScript SDK or on the SDK itself, there is content that we want to make aware for the users that need like the advanced reference, right? So in the case of the TypeScript SDK, we have every single reference that we have in here for the Cloud Agent, all the classes, all the enumerations, functions, interfaces, all of them are drafted in this section. So this is the place where the advanced users would come in here to see, okay, what is the input attribute that I need to send to a specific function and all that. I would hope that in a future, as we explained already, we can convert from these external links to have those links generated in Markdown in Markdown spec, and then having those bundled inside here, because the design looks a lot better than being in here and then jumping to a black page that is completely different, right? I'm not saying this documentation page does not look good, but it doesn't look integrated. That for sure we all can agree. And yeah, that's pretty much it about the new changes. I think Yuri had the hand raised.
Yep, I'm thinking about simplification and dev experience. I've been maintaining documentation all this time, and it was really tricky to use submodels with references to external Markdown files. The problem is that the links in the Docusaurus might be different, and it's tricky to keep this knowledge in Docusaurus. Actually, it's easy, but it's tricky to keep same links and conventions in external projects. So I would consider us to move all documentations to the docs project and use external links only for auto-generated documentations for SDKs and probably OpenAPI specifications. It's really nightmare to maintain documentation links manually.
I could not agree more, but the thing is that the structure that I'm proposing in here is precisely to fix the problem that you are mentioning. It's just that I feel that we did not have the expertise to make sure that this problem didn't happen. And over time, things got very complicated because on one side you have static links, on the other side hard-coded links, and in the Docusaurus website you have additional links.
Yes, yes,
May work or may not work.
that's what I meant. So please proceed with changes and let's don't do two changes at once. And after this refactoring, we can back to these questions. Yes, yes, no, no. Okay.
So Yuri, the idea basically is that nobody needs to do weird things like adding a static link. Instead, we are going to rely on auto-generated links. So we know if all the links that we have in the sidebar are auto-generated, we know for certain that they are going to be working, because if not, the link would not be present. So
Okay, just show me this because I don't know how to do this properly, and
yes.
I have no clue how to reference to auto-generated link from static MD file in external project. It's
Yes.
slightly confusing.
No worries. And also the fact that we have added these category pages like these ones makes it extremely easy now to link to specific places. The same in here. The same in tutorials. Tutorials now became a category. So if in any of the sections that you are building on your repository, you need to reference to tutorials, it's very easy to reference to that. In the same line, if you're referring to other tutorial sections, it has a structure that we can follow. This is maybe not the best example, but I know what you mean and the problem. So yeah, just give me a couple of weeks and we will come with a more structured version of this. Cool. Now, React Native project refinement and kickoff. This is an initiative that is going to for sure take more than 6 months, where, well, it's a big assumption, but let's say that it's going to take a while. So one of the decisions that Gonzalo and myself were trying to think about is how can we build an SDK package that can be used in React Native and can be consumed by the current versions of React Native. Then in terms of Swift has lately been transitioning from Cocoa Pods to Swift packages, and we need to see how this connects with React Native. And at the same time, on the Android version, we are restricted on the Kotlin version that we can use. And this is a big problem for what we want to build. So for now, we took the decision to stick with 0.76.9. For Swift, we will be using Cocoa Pods. If possible, try to prevent Swift packages. And on Android, we are going to stick with Kotlin 1.9.20 something. Another thing that I want to be very specific on is that we are not going to be building one one version of the SDK that is compatible with every single React Native version. We are going to start step by step and focusing on 0.76. As soon as we have this stabilized and fully working, we are maybe going to explore integrating a higher version, but we are 100% not going to include all the versions. So do not expect 77, 78, 79 to have versions, but probably we do a 0.76 and we do a big jump to 0.80 or something like that. Cool. Now, another of the decisions that as part of this React Native functionality that we have is to simplify our repositories. This applies to the Swift SDK and this applies to the Android or the multi-platform KMP SDK. KMP over time, it got really bloated with dependencies and very difficult to manage for our side when we are really not using anything from the multi-platform side. Remember that TypeScript never used it, and Swift is also not using it so much. So we are removing everything that makes that thing a multi-platform SDK, and we are just leaving the Kotlin part. So for the Android users and JVM users, things will remain to work as expected, and the other users will just use their corresponding SDKs. Any questions so far? Awesome. I think I added something else, but I cannot see it. Yeah, the VDR status report. I did not add the slide, but maybe Fabio, you can cover that.
Okay, just to say more or less what's going on. So I updated the. I still didn't push, but I updated the VDR driver to use the MongoDB database, and I'm just finishing updating the indexer to fulfill that MongoDB database. And it's almost done, that part. So I'll try to have like a user that is just read only that will be open for a while for you guys to try. So you can try to use that VDR for reading mainly. But for writing, yeah, we need to figure out just integrating the rest with the Cloud Agent or something, or just use it directly, because we can also use the driver directly. And yeah, so I should be working somewhere this week. So I'll try to push a new version of the driver.
Awesome. Well done, buddy.
Yeah. I'll also try to update that CLI that I created, that Cardano CLI, Identus CLI that I was giving for testing and to running the driver and stuff like that, to have these new versions. And maybe I was going to do some experiments with what Huberto was saying the other day, to have like the AI models trying to call that tool, and see if I could do something interesting or not. But I'll not spend much time on it. Just more like an experiment.
It would be really cool because it's probably much easier to sell AI agent that can play a role of issuer or verifier instead of coding all this logic for particular use case.
No, it's just because that CLI agent, it's like able to create a DID, and if it's able to like send DIDCOM message. So basically it's a AI managing your identity wallet, let's say. Would be a nice experiment for show off.
It's really promising area because if we can train a particular agent to define rules, connect to some third-party data sources over MPC or any other API, it can be a really issuer agent that can work in some education area or whatever with pretty flexible configuration.
Yeah,
I mean, we can define flows, how it's called, in a declarative way, like check this, check that, ensure this, ensure that, start this protocol, ensure payment received, blah blah blah, and It's really cool.
I think on top of what we said, which is very good, I think that we need to refine better what we expect from this, because in my head, one of the hypothetical use cases of digital identity in the AI world would not be like the classic integrating tools to run DITCOM messages and all that. That brings really not much value apart from us experimenting with AI. What would bring a lot more value? You guys imagine that instead of having one AI provider, that you have a network of AI agents. Then, because you're on a peer-to-peer network and not the classic endpoint that you specify who you trust, then how can you be certain that the message that you are receiving comes from somebody that has authorized and claims to be an agent? This is kind of the logic that I see that digital identity could benefit from. And yeah, probably when you are using MCP servers or other remote tools, they already have not OpenID, but OAuth. They have OAuth bundled in there. So another potential use case would be to include digital credentials in this authentication protocol using OpenID or something like that. But yeah, it's definitely a good discussion to have. Awesome. Do we have any other comments, or maybe Roberto or John, do you guys want to comment anything on top?
I mean, no, I'm super excited for start experimenting with that. And what Fabio said, I mean, I was thinking more of a single experiment, but now I can see how, yeah, we can definitely add flows and checks or even define some sort of MCP description that knows exactly how to talk to the agent through their API, or describe like a small Python, integration or anything that really knows how to connect. And then you can just ask things or perform some tasks and stuff like that, and the thing will basically do it, or help you or help anyone learning how to create a workflow for issuance, how to do, or more complex workflows. So I think that's super interesting, even like as a learning tool. And from there, for a business use case, it's just a matter of, guardrails and stuff like that, but should be very interesting. And easy to sell, like Yuri said, like it's something that I feel it will get much better received versus just like the Identus part or the identity part raw. If it's integrated and it kind of knows how to talk with agents already, that combination could be very powerful.
Roberta, I guess theoretically, and Fabio can confirm this, that it's a matter of implementation NPC server. Then any AI agent theoretically can use this NPC server based on the description, restrictions, and other rules.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
create.
the NPC server is just like an interface between what the AI model understands, and so basically, but I do agree with what Robert was saying. For learning and just for debugging some flows, that would be awesome, because you can just describe one of the sides of the flow, like the client or the server, depending on whatever you are trying to do. Just describe on the AI model, and then trying to implement the other side, for example.
Yeah, or even for testing.
Yeah,
even for testing complex workflows, which is, instead of writing the test and all that, it's just like you just spawn an agent that does the thing that you want to achieve, and then you see the result. You can see the debugging live. You can connect it to the logs, and the thing will figure it out. And it's just exploring that combination and just flexing that muscle that like keep iterating there. It can lead to other, unexpected things or ideas, or sub projects. So super excited to give it a try.
Yeah, I think we can give a quick experiment just to see what comes out of it.
Yep.
Yep,
Cool.
completely agree. Fail, but fail fast.
Yeah.
Guys, I would only ask you to create at least discussion in GitHub to keep information that we discussed here and initiatives that we are going to test.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll try, I'll create a discussion right now.
Awesome. I think we are getting to the half meeting, but I don't see that we have like additional content. And I will leave it up to Yuri maybe to decide what. Yeah, we should probably close the meeting.
Oh, I would add that Shailesh is attending Midnight Summit. So next week he's going to share some insights about Midnight Network and state of identity in Midnight. So it's a kind of advertisement of the next meeting.
Awesome.
And
Is he presenting anything?
oh, he has a deck, but there are a lot of cool guys who occupied all slots. So he has a round table and the identity working group. So let's see what he's going to bring back. But yes, he has a deck, and this deck is really awesome.
Cool. Let's wait for next week then. Should we then stop the meeting here?
Yes, yes, I want my time back, and it's 10:30 p.m. in my time zone. So let's please close it.
So
Awesome.
question, what repository the discussions are handled right now? It's not in the main one.
They
Oh.
should be in the main one.
Main one, as far as I know.
It's
Doesn't
Hyperledger
have the-
Identus, Hyperledger Identus.
Oh, okay. So
It's not intuitive. I was looking for it like for a little bit.
let me see.
Let me
Oh,
put
okay,
it.
so that's okay. So the homepage that just Hyperledger Identus is the rendering of this, and inside this is where the discussion is. Got it. Yep.
We should create a link for it because I spent like 5 minutes looking for it and I knew where it was.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
had no
we got
idea.
lost too.
Yeah,
Okay, got it.
I'm not sure we can move the discussions in here. I'm not sure if it can be done, but we can explore.
But we can link it at least from the homepage from there.
Yeah, at
Yeah,
least
Just link it from there, and that will be enough. Like
yeah,
big
if
banner
someone
there.
could just edit this page in there would be awesome.
Yeah. Okay. All
Awesome.
right.
Cool. Thanks for joining and hope to see you next week with more content.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you, Javi.
Thank you.
Guys.
Have a
See
nice
you in
week.
1 week.
Bye bye.